Hello, this is Debbie, and this is Light Up Your Worth, and coming with you with a new amazing guest. I am so excited. I know I say this every time, but I am. I really am so pleased to be able to introduce you to my friend Serena. And what is so powerful about how we connect is through, like many of my guests, through a coaching program. But what was really a standout quality of her was her generosity with how she was uplifting other women in our coaching program. And she just really left a mark on my heart on her generous sharing of some really powerful things that were more unique in our group. And so I wanted to bring her to you so that you can also see this greatness that I saw shining through. And as we've connected, I'm just so pleased. So Serena, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is really fun. I love that you say that quality of like uplifting women. I feel like that feels to me like, yay, this is the work I want to do in the world. So I like that phrasing of it.
It was you were so uplifting, and being an energetic empath, I could feel the love that was radiating through you as you were helping them with their specific questions and when they were getting stuck on. And so I'm just so happy that you're here. So, and I'm even more happy to share, that you are on vacation in this beautiful location. And so, I mean, how blessed and honored am I, for myself and for everybody who's listening, to have somebody take time away from their family to meet with me in such a gorgeous, gorgeous vacation spot that you're at. So kind of leading into, some of that, but I would love to know more about your journey and how you became who we see as this super gorgeous, radiating, entrepreneur who's so spiritual based. I would love to know your story of all the stuff, what you've overcome to be where you are today. So
yeah, awesome. It's funny that you use the word radiating, because that's my brand is called Radiant. And because that's what I want to be, and that's what I want to inspire other people to be. Like, we all kind of deserve to live this like really full, radiant like life that feels really good to us. And I just want to like cheerlead women on into like really embracing that side of themselves. So my story is really, it's beautiful, I'll say. I think that I started out like, I had like when I was a teenager, I was, there was like some darkness there. I definitely just surrounded myself with some environments that were not uplifting at all. I grew up in a house with like yoga and spirituality and all these things, and I'm so grateful. And then I just kind of went down, my paths of self-discovery, which sometimes led me down, darker places. And I think it's all and very cool, because I learned a lot. I traveled a lot. I met with a lot of different people. But sometimes when you get like involved in like party scenes and stuff, there is like a lot of like dark energy. And for a long time, I didn't see that. But there just came a time in my 20s where I just really became really, I had always been kind of a seeker, even, I had always been reading books on spirituality and religion and just really trying to find my personal place in it. So I just remember like in my 20s, just like coming to a place where I was just like, I really need to like change the environment around me. And in that time, I moved to New York. I am from Puerto Rico, and I just felt like a need for a new start. But as we all know, all our stuff comes with us.
Yeah.
So there I
Right?
was in New York with all my same habits and baggage and unprocessed trauma. And that led me to I became a single mom when I was 26. And that was a really wonderful, life-changing moment for me, because obviously as mothers, one thing is to learn to like mother and heal yourself, but it's very different when you have another little human that you're kind of like in charge of, right? So that transformed me in a lot of ways. It transformed me in me really acknowledging like the kind of work that I wanted to be doing, that how present I wanted to be for my daughter, and really just diving into me trying to be the best version of myself so I could be the kind of parent that I wanted to be. And still kind of struggling with all of the stuff that when she was about 9 years old, she had her appendix burst. And so she had like this emergency surgery, and she was in the hospital for a week. And it was really, I had a home birth. I had never even been in a hospital. So that was very like cathartic and traumatic. And that was kind of like the beginning of the turning of the switch for me, because in one way it made me realize how much of myself I had lost into like motherhood and survival mode and all of that. And in another way, it just made me really realize how much like internal work I needed to do to like heal myself. So that like negative experience really opened up all of these new doors for me. One of my friends introduced me to like essential oils, and I started kind of using them for emotional release and to heal myself around that. And then through that, I got introduced into the law of attraction, and I just really dove into, Abraham Hicks and all of that kind of teachings. I started listening to a lot of mindset audio, Think and Grow Rich, and Your Wish is Your Command, and Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer, and all of these things that started waking up my brain to life outside of survival mode, and to, just really understanding like, there's all this stuff in here that needs to be processed and like to come out. So it's kind of like one thing led to another, more doors open. I met these healers that do muscle testing, and just had so much support and so many different tools that just came into my life. And in that process, I found myself, like in a lot of poverty, and with a lot of just like in really stress and survival mode. And I started creating a business for myself, and I started, learning how to manifest. And it was really incredible to see. There was a point in there where I was like, financially had kind of hit the bottom of the barrel. I had been in survival mode for so long. I'm a single mom, and I was starting to really get like drowned in debt and stuck. And I didn't know like a way out, but I knew that I had learned like about the law of attraction. And so in my physical world, there was just nothing more that I could do. So I had to turn into my energy world. And I just leaned so heavily into just listening to positive audio and practicing the law of attraction every day, like focusing on all of the abundance and the blessings that existed in my life in the forms of support and people, and just appreciating the abundance in nature and everywhere, and really just, very, very law of attraction, putting on my blinders to the reality, and just living, just working on my energy, and working on uplifting my vibration, and working on just being from like a much more elevated place. And it's crazy how fast everything changed. I went from about to be evicted, like in a super toxic like relationship, and just completely out of energy and ideas and out of breath, like literally, like I had asthma from, because like all of this constraint from all of this stress. And I think within a year I had this beautiful, like I had this house that I had been daydreaming of having, and I had a new car and I had a new partner, and like life just like opened up and flourished. And I was just in awe of how amazingly we can manifest so many things by, tuning out of the outside world and really kind of tuning in and like learning about energy and all of those things. So it was just like such an amazing thing to see in my life. And once you accomplish that, once you see that really manifest in your own world, then you want to shout it from the rooftops, right? You want, like,
Yes.
So, I've also learned the hard way that not everybody wants to hear that, and that's okay. But for the people that do, it's really fun and exciting to kind of share tools for expansion.
Oh, I love that. The transformation is in the expansion that you are, I mean, in a year to be able to go from how am I going to not be evicted to bringing in everything that was already there, and seeing the world that it's a good place versus that it's not, right? Like you mentioned, like sometimes people think we have these blinders.
Mhm.
It's just our filter, right? Just like you get on Instagram or Snapchat or something, right? Like you can just go grab a filter. Well, your filter, it's just that everything is going to be good.
Yes.
And and truly, truly believe in it, not just saying it, but
Yes.
feeling it.
Yeah, 100%.
And
And no matter what the situation now, the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So it's like silver lining all the way, because, even when something is difficult and challenging and really brings out all of the like uncomfortable feelings, it's being able to say, oh, great, what are you showing me? Like, ooh, here's something I need to look at. Right? And that's so
yes.
powerful.
Oh, this just unpacked. Oh, let's go look at this suitcase that just opened up and see
Yeah.
what's in there. And
I still
yeah,
have some dirty laundry.
yeah, we're gonna
Let's go.
throw it. What do we need to throw out? What no longer serves us? Bless it, send it on its way. And oh, I love that. I just love that visual that you just gave me, right? Like, yeah, it just comes up, it comes through. It's not like everybody now wears these rose-colored glasses, right?
Mhm.
It's just that we choose to know that it all is what we put out there comes back. It's just what a powerful place. And to have been able to have your daughter be at an age even where she has seen both sides of that coin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
And what a gift. What a gift to be able to have brought your daughter in and how she chose you to go through this journey with you and see, and coming from that place, right? Like she'll be like your third immediate generation of
Mhm.
being exposed to it. And then what will her journey be as she goes through this? Is she going to go look at some of the find her own dark soul,
Right.
those experiences? Because sometimes I know when people are listening, right? Like how one of the things that we seem to have in common, spiritual based people, is that we've all kind of been through parts of our lives where we didn't see necessarily the light, and we weren't necessarily connected. And then when we make the switch, it's like you've turned on a light switch in a room, and
Mhm.
how the universe responds to us. And so when you were sharing and you were talking about some of the books that you started to read, is that Think and Grow Rich is such a it's one of my favorite books. And if people haven't read this almost 100-year-old book, it's still so relevant, right? The whole thought about masterminds and how he went off and spent his life really interviewing these great people and how it came. And so out of all the stuff that you read, was what do you think has been one of your most impactful on your journey through this, when you started down, really understanding your mindset, the law of attraction?
I mean, one of the things that was most powerful was that I started listening to Abraham Hicks on YouTube every single day. It was just like, let's prime the brain for, the goodness, so just having daily practice made such a big impact. And I think listening to the audio of Your Wish is Your Command, just, it was like, anything that is like talking about quantum, right? Because it's like, of course, like, it's so like amazingly simple, and we get stuck in all of these like patterns and beliefs and ways that we think we need to be. I work with, I don't know what she calls herself. I'm going to call her a quantum coach, but I don't know if that's what she would say. But it's like when learning to work in the quantum field in order to see like change. So there's something happening in your 3D life that you're struggling with. And instead of trying to figure it out and fix it, you go into your quantum field and then you like work on it from an energetic place and then just see it change in the 3D world. So that kind of stuff to me is just like my favorite.
It is. Now, if I'm new, right? Say I'm new and I'm listening to the podcast, I've kind of stumbled upon, and I'm listening so far because you're intriguing. And then they're like, what is she talking about? What's a 3D versus another world? Like,
Right.
how would you explain it and like how you see it?
Yes. Oh, that's a good one. So 3D world meaning like this world that we experience where we feel and touch and taste and think more than anything, right? And quantum world, or the field, just being where, like we're energy, and our thoughts are energy, and money is energy, and everything that we see and feel and touch is ultimately energy, right? So if it exists in the 3D world, like there's an energetic version of it in the quantum field. And so how I would explain it is kind of going inside to really deal with the places, in my energy field where energy is stuck, where things aren't flowing, and like how I can like find that and work the kinks out through my, it can be through breath work, it could be through journaling, it could be through meditation, like it could be through dancing your face off. There's so many different ways that you can access like, your energy field world. It doesn't have to be sitting quietly with your eyes closed. It can be drawing, it can be painting, it can be dancing. And so just like, how do I find those places where energy is stuck and old things are coming in, and there's like, oh, here's that trauma from that. And I can just engage with it in ways that just set that energy kind of back in motion.
I love that, and one of the things I heard recently was trauma, like the small T and the big T. Have you heard that yet?
No.
I was like, oh, I like that. I think I'm going to adopt it. So small T is like when we're growing up, and it's something like maybe somebody took your doll, right, and did something with it. And so it was this little T, because you're in that theta brain state, right, into your like 6 or 7, depending on who you're listening to. And so it was this little T that kind of stuck with you. And then we have the big T's, like real different types of traumas, which I think people understand what a trauma is. But the little T's, we have a lot of little T's. And when we start breaking into like what you're talking about, manifesting in the 3D to quantum, like you can't figure out what's stuck. A
Mhm.
lot of it is a lot of little T's, right? And going
Yeah.
in there. And I love your description because it's so different for all of us, right? Just to connect into our own innate knowledge. And
Mhm.
so I love your description of that. What is your, like when you're going there, you're using a lot of different tools like in like your toolbox, like you would
Mhm.
with what you're what you're creating out in your 3D world,
Mhm.
your the people that you work with. And so what are some of your like go-tos, like your first, how out of all the different things that you're trying,
Mhm.
tried, we try different things and then some just more resonate with us. That's why there's so much goodness out there. And so how does that, what's some of your like main go-tos that you would go to, I
Mhm.
guess?
So, so I still use essential oils because vibrational frequency, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's certain oils that have a certain frequency, and so if our frequency is low, we can bring our frequency up by it just applying that, and that feels like, oh, that's wonderful and quick and easy. Um, Dancing, I was a dancer. My mom was a dancer. Like dancing is a big part of my life. So I actually I work with this woman that's a channel, and she said that for me personally, that putting on headphones with music that felt very like connected to my culture and dancing around for 10 minutes was more powerful than if I sat on a mat and meditated for an hour. And I was like, well, isn't that interesting? So that is, I just like, I could do that and I just feel like instantly like plugged in, like
Yeah,
it just
yeah, you're
raises my
just
vibration. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
I love using, Abraham Hicks calls it a focus wheel, but there's a lot of different names for it. Just like an affirmation kind of wheel. So, there's just like a lot of affirmations around one specific subject. We did one with Heidi Stevens
Mm-hmm.
during the program. And so it's just, just reminding yourself of these, like saying in present moment the things that you're calling in. I feel like that's so powerful. And I do that with journaling too. Always my morning practice. I sit down with my cup of coffee and my journal, like no matter what's happening, this is the first thing that's happening every day. And sometimes I'm processing stuff, but I like that, like speaking into the vision of the future, speaking into what I'm calling in, like getting into the feeling place of what it's like to, have already attracted the things that I'm calling in. So those are kind of my go-to.
Oh, I love that. So I use essential oils, but it's definitely not my like my strongest suit, right? Even though I use them and um have some going right actually right now.
Mhm.
And so what is your number one scent then that you go to? Is because I've heard it's rose. Like rose is like one of the highest vibrating
Yeah.
essential oils.
Yeah.
Is that one of your, do you use that one or?
Yeah, so
Mhm.
actually Rose was my go-to until I ran out of it and I haven't had more. So always just more than scent, just like frequency. So I have a
Mhm.
chart that talks about like the frequencies of the oils, which
Oh,
is right. It's so fun. It's like crystals, right? Like, oh,
oh, yeah,
crystals, like this vibrates at this frequency. Let me put it
yeah,
on,
yeah, yep.
right? So and sometimes what I need is actually grounding. So like firs and like wood, like kind of like tree oils are really good for grounding. And some then, or I'll look at like, I don't even look anymore. You can just intuitively pick out an oil, right? And
Mhm.
you'll just know that your body needs it. There's a blend that I use all the time that is really for grounding. It's called Valor. And I'm just like,
I love
yeah. So, and there's also blends, excuse me. There's also blends that are really good for kind of connecting. So I
that.
have one here called like Higher Unity. And so it's like just like blends that like open up your channels and just like really put you in like a very like elevated kind of receptive mode.
Oh, I love that. I love to hear that too. You were going to say something else too.
Oh, I just remembered one thing that I just recently started doing because my friend that's a channel was like, well, I don't know why this is coming up, but I just started hula hooping as a way to like raise your frequency. It's super hard. It's very like, I really have so much admiration for people that are good hoopers. I see
Mhm.
them on YouTube and I'm like, but it's really powerful. And there's like a whole, it's like belly dancing too has like this whole, there's something about the center of the body and the core and like the movements that are happening. So
Mhm.
I'm just starting to learn that. But as a tool for like raising frequency, so fun and embarrassing and
Oh,
really,
so I have to so I have to share this about the movement and the hula hoop because there's no synchronicities
right.
ever. We know that, right? The two of us know. So I had a session this last week with a friend who one of the people that I work with, and in connecting with her, she channels was that okay? I was looking at a certain thing that I'm working on, and what was the block? And what the message I had received was movement. Like you need to do movement, you need to move your hips, you need to put on music and move your hips. Like your hips are too stiff. Move it, and like think some erotic thoughts basically and start moving my hips, like break out there's some stuck energy there. So
Mm-hmm.
that had happened. And then I had the session within days and she tells me like the same thing. Like you need to do. And then I talking with somebody else and who just off the top of her head's like, you need to move. Like it's stuck, and because we can talk freely to each other. And in my retreat next year, I have hula hoops exercises
Oh,
because
see?
I have hula hoops in my house,
Oh,
and
that's so fun.
because it's the joy and the movement of like the childhood connecting in with that. I know people call it inner child, but I want to think about it as like an inner goddess
Yeah,
that we're
and it's
connecting
beautiful.
into. And
Yeah.
just, because I'm not real graceful when I'm dancing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have that, Shakira look, of where she makes it look so easy. I'm like, I'm awkward and I don't have motion, but it doesn't stop me, right? Like,
No,
I
it's
don't
the
really care.
joy and the
The
playfulness of it,
joy,
right? Like,
yeah,
yeah, that there's something, there's a reason why dance like nobody's watching is a thing, right? We
yes.
really can like connect to that. And I think like, historically, like dance and movement has like in all different cultures, there's like all of these ways where people connect to movement for ceremony and for healing and all of
Hmm.
these things. So and I think it's so important to just be silly and playful. It just brings so much ease and joy. And we get so serious and so focused and so ambitious and so goal driven. And we forget to play and we forget to have fun and just be silly. It doesn't matter if the hula hoop is falling off and we're off key or off rhythm. Like, who cares?
Right?
It's
Oh
really
my gosh,
like
yes.
connecting to, right? Like when you're a little kid and you're
Yeah.
hula hooping, you're not like self-conscious about it.
No. You're just out there. Yay, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Yeah, that whole feminine, the play, the joy, which is all about the bringing things in, the manifestation, the law of attraction
yeah,
is, and I know people have been talking about the male female more frequently, over the last couple of years. And I think sometimes people think, well, I can't always just be in that spot. No, it's learning how to balance it. I think
yeah.
because I think our culture over time has put us in this male dominated like get shit done mode,
Mhm.
and we have to reconnect with that part of ourselves, not only because it makes it more fun, but
Yeah,
that's our strength. Like that's how we create. And so
yeah.
I love that somebody has talked to you about the hula hoop. I'm like, it's almost like, oh yay, I'm glad that that's part of my stuff, right? Of
Yeah.
the work I'm doing with people. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I want to know, I'm curious now about then what type of work are you how are you showing up, and what are you doing in this 3D world of how you're bringing in all of this goodness?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like for you? Like,
So the way, I mean, I think that the best thing that I could do is like, right, live it, breathe it, and be it.
mm-hmm,
Right. And so one of the things in the work that I do in the world is to work on me first, right? Like, I think
mm-hmm,
as women and as mothers, and, one of the things is that we really just kind of lose ourselves in taking care of others. So the first piece of it is like, start with me, start like elevating myself and my frequency, because I want to shine that onto others, because I really want
mm.
everyone to feel excited and empowered and limitless. Like, that's like, come on, this is the world we're creating.
Oh,
Let's go,
yes.
everyone. So what it looks like kind of on a more practical level is I'm currently working with like mostly female entrepreneurs that are just at different stages of their journey with their business. Maybe they're shifting into something different. Maybe they're just getting started and not sure. Maybe they make these beautiful things and feel very trapped and insecure and scared about sharing them with the world, or they just like oh, nobody's gonna want this, or all of this kind of stuff. So I'm helping them through that process of like putting all that baggage down, putting that negative self-talk down, really just like being like, hey, come on, embrace it, like embrace your greatness. What's the worst that can happen? Like, who cares? Maybe nobody buys it. Great, let's move along. Just working through the like practical aspects of starting a business, and like here's the things, and you have to think about scaling and like whatever the nitty gritty of it is. But mostly we all have the stuff that comes up. So I just use all of these tools that I'm so grateful to have, and just work with people to help them overcome those things. I share tools with them. I talk them through their mental blah, 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 so they can just build like, just like confidence and like trust in themselves and in their process and in their gifts, and hopefully just like raise myself up and raise other people up, and like raise the frequency of the planet. That's
Oh, I
what it's
just
about.
raise the frequency of the planet. Oh,
Right, it starts with us.
it starts with us. You know what's so powerful that people listening may or may not be aware, right? Some of them may be thinking about going out there on their own, being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur or whatever language speaks to them, and or even doing consulting, and you I've heard it from multiple coaches, is that until you step out, like from a job, and you go into this world, you don't realize the mindset, the stuff that comes up, the confidence, the trying to explain what you do, like how that brings it out when you put something out there and it's not quite where you're grasping, your brilliance isn't showing yet.
Right.
And so you're working through it, but it brings up all the stuff, like these
Yeah.
huge opportunities to really stretch ourselves. And
Right. Exactly.
that it's not about picking your technology platform.
Right. Not at all. And that's the
It's
thing
not.
with like the mindset of the job, right? It's a cubicle in more than just a physical way. Like, it's a metaphysical cubicle. It's an energetic cubicle, because it kind of trains us to be obedient and follow the rules, and not think outside the box / cubicle. So I had to become an entrepreneur or a solopreneur out of necessity, because I was like a single mom, and I was like, what the job isn't going to pay? Whose house is she going to get off the bus? What? Like, I had to figure all that out. And I'm so passionate about people having choice and freedom to design the life that they like want to live. Like, it just throw that job in the garbage. Like, I mean, look, I understand that like people need to have like, right, like a paycheck and you know, whatever, just security. But I think it's so fun when you can just explore the possibilities of creating something that's yours. It's so empowering, even if you're not doing it to sustain, even if you're not doing it to make money, even if you're not doing it for like the financial aspect, do it for your creative aspect, do it for like the freedom and the joy of it. And I can't imagine that something that you do out of just for the freedom and the joy of it wouldn't bring you financial abundance, because that's how energy works, right? When you're
Mhm.
pouring your heart and your love and your passion out into the world, like there's no way that that's not going to just like come back into your life and pour into your life. So I just really want to encourage people to find whatever they're like excited or passionate about, and just like really pour their magic out into the world, because it's just going to keep coming back. And then, you know, doing that work is just raising all the frequencies up.
Right? Like we are all so connected, and the frequency, and what did I hear? Like every time that we raise our frequency, it impacts 1 million people.
How exciting.
Oh, so just the energy of us talking,
Yeah.
we have just impacted, is it 1 or is it 2 million people by simply combining our energetic vibe and
Mm-hmm.
sharing. And when I thought of creating this Light Up Your Worth, the podcast, my programs and stuff, but it was really about having people understand that all of us spiritual people, we're all over. We show up in different ways. Some of us are blasting it, right? Like, oh, I'm like they're true, how they're showing up and raising the vibration is truly through just, not just, but their vehicle is the energetic healer, the quantum coach type of, it's the person who's full-time into or part-time into the essential oils. It's all these different, the manifestations or the law of attraction or meditations that you're talking about. And then there's those who are like, well, yeah, I do all that, and this is my platform of how I'm bringing the frequency. And so
Mm-hmm.
I uh, I think it's something for people to be aware of, that I keep saying we're everywhere, and my friend Alora had said we're at your Costco. Like we really are everywhere, and being able to have the deeper conversations is really a clue, right? Like we go to the deep end of the pool, we go process our stuff that comes up. It's We realize it's there, we see it as an experience. And so I'm so I just feel so honored that we're connected, and being able to go through this journey together with so many like-minded people like yourself, and that we're all connected. And I'm hoping that as somebody listens too, that they can feel more connected with all of us and know that they're not alone. No matter
Yeah.
where they are, they're not isolated. And if you haven't found those people, is to tune in to us, right? Or if they feel so drawn to you, Serena, like, oh, I'd like to learn more about your goodness. And oh, you sound like, I'm representing a lot of people who we're all tools, and right in our toolboxes. Like you go to school and you learn different skill sets. And so if somebody is really drawn to wanting to learn more about you, Serena, how can they reach out? How can they reach you?
Oh, sure. So I think the easiest way is to just go to my website, which is radiant with Serena.com. So radiantwithserena.com, or my email is hello@radiantwithserena.com. And I think there's like a link to get into my newsletter and for scheduling and stuff like that. I think that's the easiest place to find me.
Oh, that's so great. And um, I will put that in the show notes. And I'm thinking I might want to go also out and find your wish is your command, your
Mhm.
wishes, and put that in the show notes as well, because I know that's something that you are listening to. Um,
I
and
listened to it many years ago, but it's a really it's kind of like what The Secret was for a lot of people. You know, I never
Mhm.
watched that, but it's just like it's just fascinating to learn about, you know, just about mostly it's the law of attraction and just about how
Mhm.
really we can create our reality with our thoughts and feelings, and how awesome. Everyone should know how to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's a really easy, tool, um, for people who are depending on wherever they are in their journey. So
Yeah.
I'll also put that in the show notes too, so that people have it as an
Yeah.
easy access. So thank you so, so much. It's just
Thank
such
you.
a pleasure.
Yeah, this was really fun. Thank you so much.
Thanks.